Hey, what's up guys, Rip here. So a growingly common fixture on this channel is a sort of weekly or bi-weekly gulag of commentary where I take a basically back page set of stories and make them into one compilation for your viewing pleasure. It's the kind of stories that aren't worth an entire video, but are still interesting nonetheless, and something I think we should cover. So first up on today's order is this tweet right here. So let me read it real quick. It is the epitome of modern journalism and CBR and Hollywood as well. It says, casting director Sophie Holland says, Anya Chalatortra's casting of Yennefer of Vengerberg in Netflix's adaptation of The Witcher was intended to challenge beauty standards. Burn. So basically this is obviously backfiring and basically calling this actress ugly in her way of challenging beauty standards. Yeah, never underestimate the ability of a woman to tear down other women, okay? At least with a misogynist, your typical run-of-the-mill misogynist, they'll just point and call this woman ugly. But in this case, this woman does the same thing but packages it in some very diabolical and long-winded statement that really gaslights this person into thinking they're being empowered by something when really they're just saying, you're ugly. Yeah, I can see why this tweet was deleted. How this even became a statement is profound, but CBR of all places covering it, not surprising. They are pretty much at a fight for the bottom right now. I don't really know at this point. Genuinely, I don't know if CBR is worse than Kotaku. I mean, they are really fighting for that bottom of the barrel position because journalism is already bad, but they're the worst of the worst. And CBR covering this, not surprising. And of course, after it got made fun of very, very strongly, the tweet was eventually deleted. But luckily, we have some archives because, well, everything on the internet lives on forever. But moving on to the next story, this is a very interesting one and will tell you a lot about yourself if you're watching this video. So, this tweet says, VTubers often twerk for their audience, but when you lack the moves, machines come in handy. So basically, I want you guys, I'm covering up the eventual community notes that we're going to read in a second. I want you to look at this image. Maybe you guys are internet sleuths, it's a little hard to see. But here's a little image of a anime girl twerking, and here's the little stationery that is supposed to be used as a way to display these twerking moves that these VTubers are doing. Spoiler alert, there's no VTubers involved in this, but nonetheless. Well, some people were quick to point out that this image right here was this image from a lolicon hentai, and it is one made by a very famous artist, and yes, this was all included in one of the wackiest community notes I have ever seen. The community notes on Twitter is one of the greatest forms of entertainment I have ever seen, so let's read what they said about this tweet. It says, this video shown in the monitor is actually a poontang or erotic video, Elin Chan's booty dance, by user Mantis2. The contraption, most probably, is made to attach a masturbation device like a Tenga or fleshlight in mind. No VTuber or VTuber activity is shown in the video. Again, community notes on Twitter are the greatest form of entertainment you will ever see. Getting fact-checked like this, with this sort of context, is wild. We are living in the future, ladies and gentlemen. And also, while we're on the topic, go follow the GOAT, okay? This is like a rite of passage. One of the greatest artists in the sphere. Mantis is always killing it, but we move on to the next topic. So, once again, CBR putting their hat in the ring. Unfortunately, this time their article wasn't exactly the worst, but they were boosted by this user right here. So, the article is titled, One Piece creator Oda says he won't draw romance because it's a manga for boys. Where this user replied, and many other users as well shared a similar sentiment saying, TV shows shouldn't be tied to a gender. There is as many girl anime fans as there are guys. Yes, I know guys are the dominant viewership of many TV shows. So, disregarding the comparison of the number of female fans versus male fans, I guess it's not really relevant either way. But imagine my shock when a show that is a shonen anime is directed towards boys. The main audience, by the way. Like, look up the definition of shonen, a genre of Japanese comics and animated films aimed primarily at young male audiences. That's exactly what One Piece is. Their fan base is largely young males, teenagers, and alike. And it's not surprising that they would cater to that demographic. If you think that this sort of pattern in Oda's choices is keeping women from having a legitimate chance at viewing content in the anime medium, you're not looking hard enough, because you can just go right to shoujo or anything related to that. There's no need to just look at One Piece as the only option for anime or female anime fans when there's so much other content out there that are directed towards women. But moving on to the next one, in a very Orwellian version of a story here, this article is definitely making the rounds. So it's saying the ESRB, which makes video game rankings, the teen for teen versus M, all that stuff, plans to use facial recognition for age verification. Yes, we are living in 1984. It's finally come. It's 2023, but we're finally getting that 1984 Brave New World experience. But when you go to the article itself, they're planning on having children's faces being used by technology to determine whether or not they are actually a child or an adult, and if the title of the game, the ranking and the rating, the age rating, is appropriate for them. And if you want to play a more mature game, so let's say a kid wants to play a M for mature game, he's going to need his parents to go and show selfies of themselves to run through this software to determine that they're adults and giving permission to their kid to play this M game. Yeah, this sounds like a lot of steps for something that could just be handled by simple parenting, right? It's way too complicated, and I don't see any parents using this or understanding how to use it in the first place. And there's also something very disturbing about children's images being captured by this software, which they claim they're not going to store this biometric information. But you know what? I have my reasons to be a bit hesitant in allowing companies to even have a chance to hold on these sort of things, especially when it comes to the biometrics of children. Very creepy stuff right here. But moving on, here's another story. It has to do with MasterCard, a payment processor. So now banks and payment processors are trying to exert their authority to prevent certain businesses that have medical marijuana or recreational marijuana from being able to use their payment services. And obviously that essentially kills any businesses that fall under this category. And a lot of people are shocked by this, but people like me are not so shocked, because MasterCard has been doing this in other forums. The main thing we've seen, one of the examples we've covered on this channel, is Pixiv. MasterCard has had a big hand in censoring a lot of the content on Pixiv and forcing them to change their policies to make MasterCard happy. As the payment processor, they hold an enormous and unreasonable amount of power over companies like Pixiv, and it's to the point where they have to comply with whatever moral obligations that are being placed on them by MasterCard, because they can't get paid otherwise, and they can't function as a website and as a service for artists. And now we're seeing that being extended into other forums like this. People made fun of people for getting mad about the Pixiv stuff. They're like, oh, you coomers, you're just a bunch of porn addicts that are mad that you're getting censored and not be able to see all your degenerate stuff. Well, guess what? It doesn't end there. It continues. Now it's moving on to stuff like this, and it's going to keep going. They're going to keep pushing the envelope and exerting their morals onto all of these companies and saying, you better play ball with what we like or we're going to cut you out. But now we're going to end on the final story. This is just ridiculous. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but there was a long conversation down here, and eventually it led to this quote retweet, which, without even the full context, you understand what they're driving at and how ridiculous their statement is. It says, if you think every video game needs to be fun, you have the brain of an actual child. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, is it childish to want to have fun while playing video games? That is a real question that actually has some support in the year 2023. Yeah, there's nothing else really to say about that one. That's just crazy. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little mishmash of topics. I know it was all over the place, but that's kind of good. I'm glad to cover these lesser stories that are still very interesting, but not enough for a full video. And it's nice to do these every week or two to catch up with all that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please share all of your thoughts about these topics in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time.